Hello, sweethearts. Today on Stories for the Kids, I'm telling the story of Rikki-Tikki-Tavi. This will be in two pieces because it's kind of a long story. Rikki-Tikki was a mongoose. A mongoose is somewhere between a cat and a weasel. His eyes and the end of his restless nose are pink. He could scratch himself anywhere he pleased with any leg, front or back, that he chose to use. He can also fluff up his tail till it looked like a bottle brush, and his war cry as he scuttled through the long grass was Rikki-Tikki-Tikki-Tikki. One day, a high summer flood washed Rikki-Tikki out of the burrow where he lived, and he ended up in the middle of a garden path and was found by a little boy and his mother. They took him to the house, and the boy's father picked him up between his finger and thumb and wrapped him in cool cotton and warmed him up. He said, "Don't frighten him. We'll see what he'll do." They didn't have to wait long. See, it's the hardest thing in the world to frighten a mongoose because he's just eaten up from nose to tail with curiosity. He jumped on the small boy's shoulder. "Don't be frightened, Teddy," said his father. "That's just his way of making friends." "He's tickling me under my chin," said Teddy. Rikki-Tikki looked between the boy's collar and his neck. He snuffled in his ear and climbed down to the floor where he sat rubbing his nose. "Goodness gracious," said Teddy's mother. "That's a wild creature." "Well, if Teddy doesn't pick him up by the tail or try to put him in a cage, he'll run in and out of the house all day long," said his father. They gave him a little piece of raw meat, and Rikki-Tikki liked it immensely. Then, when he was finished, he went out on the veranda and sat in the sunshine and thought to himself, "There are more things to find out, and I shall certainly stay and do that." He spent all that day roaming all over the house. He investigated everything from the bathtubs to the ink bottle, and at night he crawled in bed with Teddy. When Teddy's parents came to check on him, his mother said, "He may bite the child." "Oh, he'll do no such thing," said his father. "Teddy's safer with that little beast than if he had a bloodhound to watch him." Early in the morning, Rikki-Tikki came to early breakfast in the veranda, riding on Teddy's shoulder. When Rikki-Tikki went out to the garden, it was a large garden. Only half of it was cultivated, with bushes and trees, roses and bamboos, and there were thickets of high grass. "Oh, this is a splendid hunting ground," Rikki-Tikki said to himself. He heard very sorrowful voices in the thorn brush. It was Darzy the tailor bird and his wife in the nest. "What's the matter?" asked Rikki-Tikki. "We're very miserable. One of our babies fell out of the nest yesterday and Nag ate him." "Who is Nag?" Rikki-Tikki asked. Darzy and his wife only cowered down in the nest because there came a low hiss that made Rikki-Tikki jump back 2 feet. Then inch by inch out of the grass rose the head and spread hood of Nag, the great black cobra. He was 5 feet long from tongue to tail. "I am Nag. Look and be afraid." He spread out his hood more than ever, and Rikki-Tikki was afraid for a moment. "Well," he said as his tongue began to puff up, "do you think it's right for you to eat fledglings out of a nest?" Now, Nag knew that mongooses in the garden meant death sooner or later for him and his family. "You eat eggs. Why should I not eat birds?" "Look behind you," sang Darzy. Rikki-Tikki knew better than to waste time staring. He jumped up in the air as high as he could go, and just under him whipped the head of Nagaina, Nag's wicked wife. She had crept up behind him as he was talking. He bit her as she passed underneath him, but he did not bite long enough, so he jumped clear of her whisking tail, leaving Nagaina torn and angry. Rikki-Tikki felt his eyes glow red and hot. For when a mongoose is angry, his eyes glow red. He sat back on his tail and hind legs like a little kangaroo, looked all around him and chittered with rage. Nag and Nagaina disappeared into the grass. Teddy came running down the path. Rikki-Tikki was ready to be petted. But just as Teddy was stooping, something flinched a little in the dust, and a tiny voice said, "Be careful, I am Death." It was Karate, the dusty brown snakeling that lies for choice in the dusty earth. His bite is as dangerous as a cobra's, but he is so small that nobody thinks of him. Rikki-Tikki's eyes grew red again, and he danced up to Karate with the peculiar rocking, swaying motion that he had inherited from his family. It looks very funny, but it's so perfectly balanced a gait that you can fly off from it at any angle you please, and when dealing with snakes, this is an advantage. His eyes were all red, and he rocked back and forth, looking for a good place to hold. Karate struck out. Rikki-Tikki jumped sideways and tried to run in, but the dusty gray head lashed within a fraction of his shoulder, and he jumped over Karate's body, his head following Rikki-Tikki's heels close. Karate lunged out once too far, and Rikki-Tikki jumped on the snake's back, dropped his head far between his forelegs, and bit as high on the back as he could get hold and rolled away. That bite paralyzed Karate. Teddy's father ran down the path and made sure that Karate was indeed dead. That night after dinner, Teddy carried him off to bed and insisted Rikki-Tikki is sleeping under his chin. But as soon as Teddy was asleep, he went off for his nightly walk around the house, and in the dark he ran into Chuchundra, the rat, creeping round by the wall. "Oh, don't kill me, Rikki-Tikki," said Chuchundra, almost weeping. "Do you think a snake killer kills muskrats?" asked Rikki-Tikki scornfully. "That's not the least danger." "But my cousin Chua the rat told me," said Chuchundra, and he stopped. "Told you what?" said Rikki-Tikki. "I mustn't say anything. Can't you hear, Rikki-Tikki?" whispered Chuchundra. Rikki-Tikki listened, and he heard the dry scratch of snake scales on brickwork. "That is Nag or Nagaina," he said to himself. Rikki-Tikki stole into the bathroom, and he heard Nag and Nagaina whispering. "When the house is empty, he will go away, and then the garden will be our own again. Remember that as soon as our eggs hatch, our children will need room and quiet." Nag replied, "I will kill the big man and his wife and the child if I can, and come away quietly. Then the bungalow will be empty, and the Rikki-Tikki will go." Go to the next video for the rest of the story. Thanks, honey.